Ready, Chief? Good evening, Proviso. Thank you in advance for your patience this evening. Can I get a motion to resume the regular meeting of the Board of Education?
So second.
Ms. Grant, please call the roll.
Sure, Ms. Grant, aye. Mr. Valtier's?
Aye.
Mr. Wagner?
Aye.
Mrs. Kelly?
Aye.
Mrs. Medina?
Aye.
Mrs. Patterson?
Aye.
Mr. Alexander?
Aye.
Motion carries.
We all stand for a moment of silence and pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Grant, if you'd be so kind as to please read the vision statement.
Through expectations of excellence and by providing equitable educational opportunities to empower each student, our graduates are prepared for college, careers, and to serve as contributing members of a dynamic global society.
At this time on the agenda, we have reports and communications from the superintendents of schools. Dr. Anderson, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President, Vice President, Secretary, board members. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, community. The strike is over. When you're in a fight, you fight. But no one wins in this fight. But now, our teachers are back in their classrooms, working hard at working in tandem on behalf of our scholars. Teachers, our students have won because you have returned. On behalf of this Board of Education and I, we are elated to have you all back where you all belong, in our classrooms. Doing what you do best, teach. Now it's time to fight a different fight. Let's fight again. But this time, fight to better the education of all our scholars. Fight to ensure the safety of all of our students. Fight to provide them with nothing but the best education. Fight to ensure equity for all. Fight to bake into our curriculum social emotional learning. Fight to give us the opportunity to work in tandem, teachers, administrators, and teachers working in tandem to move this district forward. It's that time. Now we get to see each other. You get to see me, I get to see you. Let's build bridges, not burn them down. Let's work together. You see, some of you have already spoken to me, and you know I'm not as bad as I've been painted to be. You know that. So we are going to move forward together. I want us to fight to give all children access to competitive sports and extracurricular activities. I want us to fight to make Proviso Township High School District a place where all scholars within the Proviso footprint desire to attend Proviso schools. Let's fight. Yeah, let's fight to set our differences aside and work in tandem on behalf of all of our scholars. I challenge us to that fight for Proviso's most precious asset, its students. Together, we will fight for them. And I thank you, and I look forward to working with each of you, teachers, and the rest of the employees in this district. It's time for a change. For 2 years, you don't know me and I don't know you. You only know the garbage that was put out. But let's get to know each other. Now is that time. Now, it's not going to take us 2 more years to get to know each other. We're going to start that right away. We'll be in your classrooms. I've given you all my personal cell phone number to contact me directly. You have my email number, my email address. And some of you have already started texting me. And I respond to every one of those texts and or emails. Keep it coming. Let's get to know each other. Let's build bridges, not burn them down. We've done this long enough. When elephant fights, the grass suffers. When we fight, our scholars suffer. Everything in the kitchen sink has been thrown at me. But it's okay. I forgive. Because it's not about me. Despite what one may think, it's not about me. It's about the children who live in this footprint. And I will fight for them, as many of you are fighting for them. We know our board is fighting for them. Let us all come together and fight if you want to fight. Fight for children. And I thank you, and I look forward to us working in tandem to move this district academically ahead. It shall be done. Thank you. At this time, we're going to get started with our presentation. Let's hear from our Deputy Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Sharon Williams. Let me just say, board, Dr. Williams and this team have been a breath of fresh air. We're working in tandem to move this district forward. I love what I'm seeing since Dr. Williams has been here. Executing, organizing. Everyone's moving, everyone's growing. Everyone's getting along. So let us move forward. Dr. Williams, please take it away.
Thank you. Good evening, Board President Alexander.
Good evening.
Vice President Kelly, Secretary Grant, Board members Dr. Henderson, and Sharon Williams, your Deputy Superintendent of Schools, with a few updates and a couple of action items for your consideration this evening. So at our last board meeting, and recommended for the course. And that information has been sent to families to make them aware that we're recommending their scholars for those courses. These are our teachers teaching those courses in collaboration with our tri-college partners.
So is that 20 students per school or 20 for the district?
Per school.
Per school.
And as I said, this is a soft rollout. We want to be sure that we have our feet under us in this partnership so that it will be successful, and we want to see how it goes with these 20 scholars in each of our schools. The second partnership is a partnership with One Goal, and we've started working with One Goal to strengthen our district leadership team around college and career readiness. This One Goal College Seminar is an elective course. We'll start with juniors this school year. They will roll up in their senior year for the second year of the course, and I have some further deeper information in a slide or two there. The other courses that you approved last time were in advanced academics, and that's the International Baccalaureate French and Spanish AB Initio. And those courses help prepare students who are entering into the IB program for a diploma, an IB diploma, who hadn't taken French or Spanish in their freshman or sophomore years. They have to take this course in order to meet the foreign language requirement for the IB diploma. Yes, ma'am.
Is this going to at all interfere with the Heritage Spanish speaking, the Heritage Spanish class?
No.
Okay. And The other question I have in regards to IB, are we making sure that we're going to train the teachers so they have their IB certification?
Yes, I just actually signed paperwork from Ms. Marino just about every other day regarding our IB professional development and making sure that our teachers are trained appropriately. Yes. So a little further on One Goal. So One Goal is a partnership that has a two-pronged approach. Our leadership team, including some of the coordinators and our executive director for student support, have been working with a leadership development coach. This coach from One Goal meets with us regularly to plan, to help us look at data, to set goals around students getting to college and beyond and being successful in college. The scholar support, again, is through the course, which is a 2-year course for scholars. This is a classroom-based model. It will be our teachers teaching the curriculum. The curriculum is standardized across One Goal in every school that One Goal is a part of. Teachers will receive professional development in order to teach this curriculum to their students, and we're looking for teachers who are champions of students, cheerleaders of students, believe that every student can go to college and be successful in college, and also teachers who can help our students get better at college application writing, their letters to get into college and that kind of thing. So the 2-year program really focuses on what we know will help our scholars get to college and stay in college and persist through their post-secondary careers. In their junior year, they're going to focus on looking at their GPAs, making sure that they're setting goals around that, completing mock FAFSAs, thinking about their career paths, thinking about the types of post-secondary opportunities that they have, and finding those good fit colleges, universities, post-secondary opportunities for them. In their senior year, they're finishing up, so they're going to complete their FAFSA, scholarship applications, writing their letters, making contact with those in a career path that they have chosen or are interested in so that they can make those connections as well. This program is defined as wanting to ensure that our students persist in college, so not just get there, but get through their first year. One Goal does follow them very carefully through their first years of college to make sure that they are successful. Yes.
Is One Goal, does that mean that we're going to also be hiring counselors that are going to help with career path now?
No, our counselors will be part and parcel with this initiative. The classroom teacher is the primary point person for scholars. We've asked our principals to identify a champion in their building who will be the person who spearheads the project for that school. It doesn't take away anything that a counselor would do, it adds to what a counselor would do for students.
Well, in other schools, we had counselors and we had deans that also used to help with this process. We don't have enough adults to.
Yes, we're working on plans to make sure that all of our scholars have opportunities to work with their counselors in a deeper way, and this just helps us because it is another preset curriculum for us that we can use with scholars to help boost them in that way.
So what supports, are the teachers going to be paid extra then for participating in this project and helping?
No, they'll be working at their regular workday. They'll be in this course, assigned to this course, 1 or 2 periods. It depends on the number of scholars we identify to go into the course and who's available and willing to teach the course. So it will be our teachers, it will just be another prep for them.
But is this for all of us? Is this program for all seniors or all juniors?
No. In the first year or 2, we're looking at a maximum of 40 students at East and West and a maximum of 20 students at PMSA. And again, this is the first year, a pilot year, so we want to make sure that we have a footing under us to create a strong system for this program to be successful.
This is something that all the students need from.
Yes, we agree with that, and what we would say is that we want to be sure that we provide the best professional development for our teachers and prepare them to be successful teachers of the curriculum for One Goal and expand as we go on. But we want to make sure we don't want to roll it out to all of our juniors without mitigating some of the pitfalls that we may learn about as we're implementing the first year.
Isn't this usually a program that's put out by counselors, though? Counselors lead it?
Counselors can complete it, and we're working with our principals to choose the right people in their building in order to help facilitate the process. It could be a grade level principal who's the point person at the school, or it could be a counselor. But the principals will be working with their teams to choose those folks. All right, so in the light of adding on new courses, we also have to consider, as we're adding, how we're going to look at what we're offering and how we can shift our resources, because we do have limited resources. So what we're beginning to do as a team is to look at our course catalog, our offerings. And as we're adding courses, we need to re-examine what we have offered in the past to determine how successful we've been with those kind of courses. So some of the considerations that we might, that we'll be looking at as we're looking at our course catalog and offering for scholars is any course duplications, student interest, career pathways that change by the minute and hour in our in the careers. Also any state requirements that we may need to add as a course for students. And then any post-secondary adjustments, meaning how are colleges and universities expecting our students to, what skills are they expecting our students to have when they leave us, so that we can make those adjustments. So as we add, we just had a conversation today as we're adding IB courses in all of our schools now. There may be a need for us to look at what we can cut back or remove, because we can't continue to add courses when we have not considered the courses that we have. We may not have enough students to create more than one section of something, so therefore we need to constantly look at our course selections to make sure that we're balanced and we can stay within our means. So those are the former items from last month. The items for your consideration this month include the commencement exercises that will be held in the facility use agreement for the Credit Union 1 Arena. All of our commencement exercises will be held on Sunday, May 22nd of this year, and you can see the schedule there. That contract with the Credit Union 1 Arena is $35,000 for use of the arena and all of its amenities for that day. The second item for your consideration is preparing our scholars for success in mathematics. We want to be diligent around goal 3 of the strategic plan, and that is making sure that we're upgrading our materials for students. We found that we have a need for graphing calculators at East High School, and so as part of their school improvement funding source, we're purchasing graphing calculators at the cost of $46,000, and those will be for immediate use once it's approved and received by the school. One last information item. As we submitted our school calendar for next year, we were prompted to add 3 more professional development days. Those days now are April 7th, which is now an institute day for the district, August 29th and 30th, and the last day of classes still remains June 14th. So the only adjustment was adding those 3 days for professional development. And again, the 2 action items for your consideration this evening are the facility use agreement with the University of Illinois Chicago Credit Union 1 facility, and then also the purchase of graphing calculators for East High School.
Thank you, Doc.
All right, next, Mr. Moody.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, board. Good evening, Proviso community. I'm here to present a financial update. I'd like to start by asking if there are any questions related to the bill list.
I have a couple, if that's all right.
Go ahead, Dan.
So the first one, there's some bills, mostly like the tuition bills, there's some tuition, special ed tuition bills from June and July and August from 2021. Why are they taking so long to pay those?
It's not an issue of payment. I think in most cases it's that we're just now receiving some of those bills.
Sort of receiving bills.
It's the issue of receiving, we're not delaying paying anything. We get an approved bill and pay it.
Okay, so the bills are coming in.
Bills are coming in haphazard in some cases, so.
The second question, I don't know if you have the answer to this, but it's something that has been, this is the last page of the bill list. Are you familiar with this issue?
I don't want to presume, so.
Okay, so on the last page of the bill list, there's a box, right? And it sort of summarizes the gross and net pay of college staff by category.
Yes.
And it causes a lot of consternation. I just want to be able to explain to people what these numbers actually mean. Like, so the number that people have been talking about is that the administrator category of 59 employees, it looks like there's a gross pay of $964,000. And what people are doing is, oh, okay, $964,000 for 1 month. They're multiplying that by 12 and then dividing it by 59 administratively, categorized people. And it comes to a very large average salary of like $194,000. Right? So, it's not, obviously that's not our average. We're not paying 59 people that average, so I was wondering if you could explain what that number.
Mr. Moody, let me address that. What you see here is merely a mistake. You see the word administrator. It really shouldn't be administrator. That's the total allocation for all positions in central office. As secretary, as whomever is in that, in this building, 5th floor, principals, grade level principal, that's that.
Right.
So this number is wrong, and unfortunately, it has been wrong for years. Just, I think maybe 2 months ago, I realized this, and I talked to Ms. White, and she changed from administrator to central office personnel or something like that.
Right.
So this is a misread. And I thank you so very much for bringing this to our attention. But for the record, we have 33 administrators, period. That's it.
The $964,000 doesn't seem to match up with 59 employees. So is
That's correct.
so is this some kind of like database issue? I guess I don't understand why we're putting out a number. If we're putting out mistaken numbers, we should.
You're absolutely correct. Thank you for bringing that to our attention, and we will definitely take care of that. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have another question on that.
When you done that? Go ahead, Mr. Neal.
Does this also include, because many of the administrators we pay TRS for, correct?
Mr. Moody?
How many
It's a
administrators
mixed
do we?
bag. It's a mixed bag. If you want that information, we can pull that together and provide it for you, but it's a mixed bag.
Okay. Because we do pay TRS for several of the administrators. So this is on top of their salary for 170, 180, 190. There's an extra 20 or 30,000 that's added on to that salary for TRS. Is that correct? Approximately? Right?
I would rather put the accurate information together.
It depends on the employee, Mrs. Medina.
Right, but
Because some of the employees
we don't include TRS in our salaries
in the
for
salary report.
administrators. Is that
So
correct?
for the vast majority of them, you do. There are a few administrators who have TRS paid in addition to their salary, but my recollection is the vast majority of them are tier 2 TRS people, so it wouldn't be that full number that you were discussing, because it would be a percentage of a lower number.
So how does that impact the 954,000? Is the TRS playing a role in that number?
I'm not familiar with the number, so I can't answer your
The
question.
964,426. Within the administrators, is the
I can't
TRS
tell.
also included? in
I
that?
can't tell you the magnitude of the role it plays. If that's information you want, we can pull that together specifically, but
But that would be included in that number, correct?
well, I'm not prepared to say that, no.
Any other questions for the bill list? Go ahead, Amanda.
Starting on page 231, where we have the vendor list and as well as an order of highest and lowest payments, there are a lot of entries for Proviso Township high schools where it looks like we're paying ourselves. Can you look at that? Starting on page 231 of the vendor list, but it doesn't appear until page 233 at the amount of $5,333.75. There's gotta be at least 100 entries where it looks like we're paying ourselves. Can you tell me about this?
I can. So, the way we process credit card purchases, they go to the credit card first, pay the credit card, then when the reconciliations come in, people turn in their expense report, we then code those to the proper accounts. So first we book it to the credit card, and then when we get the actual information, then we recode it, transfer it to the actual accounts. So what you're seeing are some of these transfers. So one of the things you might notice on the bill list is there are charges from several months ago that are showing up, some of them related to board activities and such. The reason they're showing up now is because those expense reports were a little slow coming in. But when we get them, then we book them to the proper account. So what you're seeing are some accounting adjustments, is basically what you're seeing.
Any other questions for the, I'm sorry, go
So
ahead.
these all, I'm just kind of confused because it seems like really kind of a roundabout way to do accounting.
Yeah.
Is this, so these are reimbursing ourselves for payments made to credit cards
So
months ago?
when the credit card purchase was made,
Mhm.
we paid the credit card.
Right.
And so you see the credit card payment. When the reconciliations come in, we then book it to the proper account. Now, this is the process, the methodology that we inherited. It's been this way since
Thank you,
before me.
thank you.
So this is nothing new. This is the way Proviso has been doing it for a period of time.
Any other questions? Bella?
I don't have any questions, but I went through my board book for the last year, 2 years. This isn't anything new.
No,
This was, as a matter of fact, what prompted me to look is because I've seen Proviso for a time. And when I look 2 years back, it's the same thing. This is,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you,
But,
Doc.
yeah.
It's been doing.
Oh, I have one more question.
Hold on there, Claudia.
So you post MasterCard, corporate MasterCard, and we pay that.
Yes.
And then you put it in here again and we repay it? I'm not,
We're not repaying it. We're just transferring it to the proper account. When we pay, when we pay the MasterCard, we pay the MasterCard bill. It's one number. When the reconciliations come in, then we take it out of MasterCard and move it into the actual account, whether it's books or food or whatever it is. We move it into that actual account.
we've never done it like that before, because before we used to get the credit card so we could see, we're supposed to approve anything over $5,000, and it's saying here in Proviso Township, 5,300, 5,000, there's an exorbitant amount of charges. And so how do we, this is not allocated, because I went back to try and match this in the bill list, and there's nothing, so that we don't even know what it's for, what you're putting this money towards. There's no description, it's just 5,300. And we have a credit card bill, again, for $39,000. We have no idea what it is that we're charging on this credit card. And if you just put Proviso, and then you give us this expensive bill list, and these expenses don't match anything in the bill list, it makes no sense.
Thank you,
They
Ms.
used
Medina.
to always match the bill list.
Thank you, Ms. Medina. Ned?
Oh, I forgot to ask, so Martin Whalen Office Solutions, $303,000.
I believe those are laptops.
Oh, that's the laptop.
Yes, but it's actually owned by Xerox.
Okay, that's the laptop, great. Thank you.
Any other questions for the bill list?
Yes. I was the.
Darla? Then Ms. Medina.
I don't have questions per se for the bill list, but as a sitting board member, I kind of think we're all fiduciary officers sitting here. And I kind of hear some innuendos as if something is going wrong. Let the record reflect, I am not and will not and have not participated in any improprieties. And everyone has a right to ask questions when it comes to the bill list. But what I find extremely strange is, I've been on the board 5 years. These questions just started coming. Let's just pay close attention. We had Paul Starking here, no question. Some of the bills that you're still paying or have paid was when Paul Starking was here. Nobody's inquiring about that. We should. When Todd Dreyfall was here, there was bills that was found.
Crickets.
Nobody is asking questions.
We rate Todd Dreyfall over the polls.
Yeah.
Well, you
Ned
wanted
just asked, Ned literally just asked, why are we paying bills from 2021? And that is questioning it.
I'm talking. Let me, no, it's not, what's cool about it?
I agree.
Yeah, what's cool about it?
Listen, board, listen, Bella has the floor.
All I'm saying is, some of these questions that are being asked now were not asked in the past, and I guess I'm just trying to understand what's the difference now versus then. I really don't want us to even start talking about the Todd Dreyfall because there's so much about that. So let's leave that alone. And yeah, so I'm sorry, community, that I had to get ooh for asking. Yes, me.
So I actually answered that, why there are questions now, or my theory about why there are questions now and not before, is because before we actually had a finance committee, and we would go over this a week before the board meeting. All of these things were transparent, we had a chance to go over these things with Paul Starking or whoever was in charge at that time as the CFO, and find out and ask our questions ahead of time. What I'm simply pointing out is that when we pay a bill, Jella has a question, Kevin. When we pay the MasterCard bill, and then we go back and say, okay, this bill was for this administrator, they bought books. This bill was for this administrator, and they, I've seen in the past, someone had to buy like a coat for a student who didn't have one in the winter, something like that. We can't tell that by looking at 100 different entries that simply say Proviso Township High Schools. We can't, it's not transparent, and I don't think, well, it may look fine on your books, and you may know exactly what every single one of these things is. I, who has to vote on these things, does not, and the taxpayers and the members of the community who want to know what their money is being used for don't know either. That is my point. I'm saying there's a right way and a really confusing way to do this, and it looks like we're really delving into a super confusing way. So if there is a better way that you know of, Mr. Moody, or something that we can come up with so that this is more transparent and we do know what we are voting on and the community knows what we're voting on, I think that would behoove us as a board to put better policies and practices in place.
I got a point to make real quick, and then I'll leave the floor. You know, Della, to second your point, it's really funny. I say this, and I've said it over 2 years. We get this board book 4 days ago. So how is it that some of us know what these things are, can ask those questions, but we get in front of the public and act like we can't get this information as board members? It's disingenuous, excuse me, it's disingenuous to represent that something's being done for the record and the right way. A financial committee does not oversee the financial office. Board members do not have the authority to oversee the finance office. We're doing that tonight as a board. A committee does not check. A committee does not direct. A committee does not instruct. So a financial committee is a waste of time unless it's attached to a policy. Facts. This is why we don't have a finance committee, and this is why all 7 of us will come here today and do the business in public so that you can all see our transparency. Now, for those who missed it last month, here's our audit. Independent audit by an independent company posted on our website that says there's no misgivings with our finances. So for board members to act like, or anyone to say that there's a problem now with the surplus that we have, with the financial responsibility that this board has wielded, is disingenuous and misinformation. Numbers don't lie. So you can, excuse me, I have the floor, I have the floor. Excuse me. Excuse me. Excuse me. There's no motion on the floor, Ms. Medina. Why don't you show some respect? I did not interrupt you when you were talking. We have an audit proviso by an independent company that says that Proviso is not only in good shape, we're in excellent shape financially. So don't take our word for it. The Illinois State Superintendent and the Speaker of the House have also reported on the finances of this district. So this all of a sudden, there's nothing new under the sun. And if anybody wants to do the research and go back and see what we did 3-4 years ago, look at the bill list then. It's exactly the same.
It's not.
I'm going to reserve the rest of my comments. These are just the facts. Who had the floor yet?
I did.
Ms. Medina and then Dara.
I actually called the auditor, and there is a clause in one of the pages that says that there is mismanagement in regards to the way that we're doing it. They had a hard time, and I know that they worked diligently with you, but there were several comments in the audit, and I did call the auditor to verify if that was true or not. And she doesn't, they did clarify that they have been clear with the district that they need somebody of the caliber of Paul Stark King to do the finances, because the finances were a mess. And it was very difficult to go through it. Usually audits are presented in December for that reason, at the end of the year. But the auditor was very clear to say that we do need further assistance, but those are just the facts. That's in the audit that you showed.
Thank you, Mr.
No, I'm not done.
Of course, you have no proof of that conversation.
I'm not done, thank you.
And being a liar that you
That
are.
was in regards to AT&T again. We have $141,000, $191.50. And there's a whole bunch of blanket orders. Could you
I got you.
explain what that's about?
Della, you have the floor.
That's my question.
Della, you have the floor.
Call for yours for the day. I respect every board member's speech. Could you please respect? I'm asking the question.
Della, you have the floor.
Mr. Alexander,
You is,
I still have the floor. I have not finished.
you actually
Mr.
paid,
Alexander, I still have the floor. I have
you
not
actually
finished.
paid over $6 million
Call to the order
when you got here, is that correct?
Mr.
I just need to,
Mr. Gleason, could you help me here?
over $6 million that had been found, if we don't talk about it, let's talk about it. It had been found in the safe, right? And we had a financial committee, right?
Yeah.
And these were checks that you had to go back to different companies, months, even year or so, and ask that they reissue. We had a financial committee. Let's be careful when we start pointing fingers. I am the first one to say, hey, let's put everything over the floor. People, over $6 million was left in the safe. We had a financial committee.
Sure did.
I want to move further. You had an independent auditor stand before this Board of Education last board meeting and stated that we were fine. If my mind serves me correctly, well, I need your help, Dr. Henderson. Our we rated where?
We're 3.9 on a 4.0 scale.
That didn't come from Della. That didn't come from this Board of Education. That came from the Illinois State Board of Education State Superintendent. That's not me. All I'm saying, when you're talking about a finance committee, all that person does is open up the meeting. They don't know that there's $6 million left in the state that's old. Ms. Medina said, I called the auditor. The auditor stood before you and said what was going on. If we were in such dire need as she's stating that we are mismanaging, I take exception to that. We have $6 million, $6 million plus in a safe that was found. But we had a finance committee. So let's not get hooked up or excited about a finance committee. We all sitting here are concerned about your taxpaying dollars. But I do take exception when there was $6 million plus that was found in a safe. Am I correct, sir? I know, don't shake your head, answer. The community needs to hear.
You're correct that we found checks, old checks.
Over $6 million with a sitting business committee person. All we do as someone that sits on the committee is open the meeting up. Not one person sitting on this board has the authority to do anything, on the exception of the night when 7 people come together. When we hear all of this bickering, it just has to stop. Let's just be honest with each other. We're acting like kids. And I had a kid say to me, I cried, I watched the meeting. The kid right here from BMSA, president of the class of 2022. I cried because of the way that you guys are acting as board members. I know for a fact, for someone that's sub, I would put a kid out of the classroom for this type of behavior. But if we're going to be honest, be honest. Let's not talk about, I heard Ms. Medina last board meeting, there was not one cupcake in this book. She said, oh, we have multiple cupcakes. We have multiple educational consultants. People, there was one educational consultant in the book. There was nothing about cupcakes in the book. So all I'm saying is, don't be hoodwinked, don't be bamboozled. Don't get on social media and put things down that are not true. They can do what you want. But that was over $6 million and nobody has asked a question about it. So now you know.
Amanda and then Ms. Medina.
I think it's really great that Della and, President Alexander and Board Member Patterson brought up truth, because when we're talking about facts, we do need to stick to facts, and we can't talk out of both sides of our mouth. So when I say, yes, the question was, why are we asking questions now? We didn't ask questions before. I said, oh, because we had a financial committee, and that helped because we could ask our questions there. And then you say, well, the committee can't do this, the committee can't do that. And Della's over here saying, all the committee chairperson does is open the meetings. Right, it is. But that opportunity was there to question and to learn and to find out and to know before we came into a larger meeting. Those meetings did have a financial committee chairperson or whatever, but all of us were invited. And the public was invited, more importantly, to come in and see the documents before we got here. So, no, your question was, why are we asking questions now and we didn't ask before? That's the answer, so don't...
Wasn't my question.
I heard it up here.
My
So-
question was, why are you asking these questions now that weren't asked
And to
before?
answer
Specific
that,
questions,
and
yeah.
to answer that, right after you said that, it's up to the 7 of us on the board meeting nights to come out here and ask questions in front of the public.
Okay.
But then you get mad that we're asking questions in front of the public, saying we should have done it before. What is it? What is it?
Okay, well, let me clarify it.
I'm
Each and every one
asking
of us-
questions now.
Okay, that's
I am asking, and the auditor may very well have all the information that Mr. Moody have. It may be clear as day to them, and that's great. That's great, but I don't see it in front of me on a document that I am asked to vote on.
Okay.
That is my point.
Okay, so for clarification,
No,
Amanda,
it's fine.
since you didn't understand what I was saying, we get the board book I said
Yes,
4 days ago.
yes.
Doc, you have chat and choose with each and every one of us that are willing. We can ask any questions we want to. We can call Doc, email him, ask any questions anytime. What I said is it's disingenuous to get to this meeting and act like you don't have access to that information except for now.
I never said I didn't have access to that information.
You said
I
we
am
need a committee,
taking-
you said we need a committee to do that, and we do not. Because those of us that choose to engage in the way that the board said we would communicate with administration, get the information. Individual board members that choose to not communicate with the administration in the way that the entire board decided we would do it, don't get the information. So when you get up here and act like you're not privy to something that maybe some other board members are, I would just ask you publicly, when's the last time you talked to your superintendent? When's the last time you set up a meeting to ask him these questions, which you don't have to FOIA? You could get answers to all of these questions. You could sit down with Mr. Moody, I'm sure, if you chose to do that. The disingenuousness of this is because we do things a different way, now it's wrong. You know, this board has determined that this is the way we will conduct business as a board. So individual board members do not get to dictate whether we have committees or not. The board has determined that. And that requires 4 and a
You're the
quorum.
only person that determines
Excuse
that.
me, no, I'm not the only person that determines anything, Ms. Medina. So that's the fact. So we have responsibilities as board members. We can get the information if we choose to. If we want to take our ball and go home because it won't come the way that we want it, I don't get to determine, as Rodney Alexander, even though I run the meetings, how the board communicates with the superintendent. Doc, we established that when you got here. And the board established that we would do things this way. The committee is not coming back, there's no oversight, the same information can be put out whenever people want it. This stuff is posted on the website, this is public information.
And answer the questions
But
when we
then,
ask them.
then what are all these charges that say Proviso Township High School? We don't know what they are. We don't know, that is my point.
Okay,
My
yeah.
point is there's a better way to do
Gotcha.
this, so
And
let
my point
everyone
is
know.
call before the meeting and find out when you get the board book. How about that?
And if I
But then that goes against you saying we're supposed to do our business in front of the people.
It's not doing your business, it's getting an answer to your question, there's a difference.
And the public has the same questions I do.
And you should be able to answer them if you get the information from the superintendent board member.
What are the charges that say Proviso Township High School?
Excuse me, let's move on. Yeah.
It's my turn. I'm sorry, I have the floor.
I just want to be real
No, you
quick.
don't have the floor,
You
Ms.
said
Medina.
Amanda, then Claudia. I
Ned
have
has the floor, and then I'll come to you.
My comment's gonna be like 5 seconds, I'm always usually
Most has
concise.
the floor, just hold on.
I just wanted to say every single question that I've asked about the bill list, I emailed to the superintendent and the president so they knew what I was gonna ask, so they had time to prepare their answers.
Thank
I think when we bring, with no surprises, that's like school board 101. If we come to the board meeting and with questions about stuff that, you know, they're not prepared to answer, we're not giving them a couple of days to be ready for it, and we're setting them up to have to say, I don't know, and I can get back to you.
Thank you, man.
High five that.
Whatever.
I'm glad that your email is not blocked and that you can, when you answer, your
You have a
emails
question,
don't go
Ms.
back. My question is about Educational Epiphany LLC for $80,000. Is that for the packages that all the teachers got? Is that a partial payment? Or is that for this one Zoom call that happened this month?
That is payment for professional development that's taking place over the course of the year.
He's only had one Zoom call so far.
Is that a question, Ms. Medina?
Is this for the Zoom call? I just want to know, is this for the Zoom call?
Mr. Moody, you answered the question.
It was
Any
a-
other
It's a
questions?
question.
Any other questions for the bill list?
Okay, so there was how do we determine $80,000 for a Zoom call? How do we know what it is that we're paying for? Because we'd already paid in full for all his services. What is that? I don't understand. Is this an extra?
No, ma'am, I don't think your information is accurate.
Well, in the board book, we paid Epiphany and we actually, it was in the board book. So I'm confused.
Okay.
Mr. Moody, you can get back to Ms. Medina.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to, he doesn't get back to me.
Okay,
And you make sure that he doesn't.
we'll get back to you, Ms. Medina.
No,
Any
no.
other questions for the bill list?
I would like to know on the bill list, is this for the Zoom call
Mr. Moody,
that happened this month? And I'm not done.
we're done.
No, we're not done.
We're done.
As far as,
We're done.
in the past, when we had this list like this, it was just one listing for each one, so there was a total.
Mr. Moody.
So instead of having
Move on.
Proviso Township High
Okay.
Schools, like 100 times, we would have one and we would have the total. So we could see what we were actually paying, a total for each vendor. Would it be possible to get that test?
Treasurer's report.
Would it be possible to please get that list updated so that it makes sense the way it used to be?
Mr. Moody, move on.
Excuse me.
Move on to the treasurer's report, which is on the board. I'd like to
Also the orders of the day, my point of information.
direct your attention to the far right column. I'm going to start with the revenues. And as you can see in the far right column, we're now 9 months, or 3/4 of the way through fiscal year 22. We collected $96.9 million. Now this represents 83% of the budgeted total for the year. This 96.9 is consistent with our seasonal pattern of revenues, with our revenue being strong in the fall, falls off in the winter, and it is stronger in the spring. And it's because our revenues are very closely tied to the tax billings. As of today, we are on track to reach our revenue goals that we set in the fiscal year 22 budget, or rather when the 22 budget was passed. Now I'd like to direct your attention to the expenditures. If you look to the far right, you'll see a total of $81,159,703. These would be the funds that we had expended through the 9 months that ended March. This represents 59% of our budgeted expenses. And we are under budget. Part of the reason for that is some bills have been slow coming in. In addition, we've been very frugal with our spending. However, I do want to mention that our spending will increase over the course of the next 3 months. You're going to see the impact of the collective bargaining agreement. You're also going to see, as the construction season picks up, we will be spending more money on construction. However, we are still expected to be under budget overall for the remainder of the year. As we proceed down to the Treasury report, you see our current surplus is $15,786,000. And our expectation is that most of this is going to be offset before the end of the year by the investment that we are making in our facilities. But as it currently stands, our fund balance is $103 million. I was going to mention the audit, which we did get an unmodified opinion in writing. That sometimes people refer to that as a clean audit opinion. And I'll quote this from the audit report. It says, in their opinion, this is Miller Cooper, our financial statements constitute an accurate representation of our financial condition.
Thank you.
So it's always great to get a clean audit report in writing. In addition, the information from the audit is used by the state of Illinois to calculate our district's financial profile score, which, as Dr. Henderson mentioned, is a 3.9 on a 4.0 scale. And that's actually a slight improvement from our score in the previous year of 3.8. And just for comparison's sake, the average for West Cook was 3.8. And one of our neighbors, Lyons, is at a perfect 4.0. So it leaves us something to shoot for next year. So that concludes my report. For your consideration, the bill list is there. And we're recommending that you all approve the bill list.
Thank you. Any questions, Doug?
That was, Miller and Cooper as the auditors for
For us, for the district.
They didn't say anything about mismanagement, right?
They did not.
Oh, okay. Let the record reflect.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Wood.
Thank you.
Mr. Taylor.
Good evening, Board of Education. Superintendent.
Good evening.
Tonight we have two presentations. One is going to be by Perkins and Will. Perkins and Will will give an update related to the projects, and Gil Bain will come up and give a construction update and present RTAs from March and also April. We ask that questions related to the RTAs come at the end of the project because there's quite a few, I believe 29 total. So at this time, we get started with Michael Dalter from Perkins and Will.
Thank you, Wiltie. Good evening.
Good evening.
We have a brief update on where we sit with the overall Phase 2 projects. We'll go through an update of the continuing project schedule, design schedule for summer 22 projects, as well as an update on the flood prevention efforts and remediation over at East, and an update on some of the requested items from our last meeting with the board.
I'm going to request one more time, could we please get like a full list of what Phase 2 involves? Because we don't know what we're checking off.
Yeah.
We keep getting Phase 2.
Right.
I don't know what Phase 2 is anymore.
Right.
It's been 2 years since you guys have ever presented to us what is in Phase 2. We get Phase 2 6B2. I have no idea what that is. But I've asked for months, could we please get a full scope so we know exactly what we're checking off? What did we finish? What have we completed? What do we still need to do? What does this mean to the budget? There is no way for us to actually have accurate information to understand what we're doing for Phase 2.
Totally understood, Ms. Kadeen. So if I could just remind you about a meeting that we had in January related to the projects for 2022-2023 school year. That was a reflection of what was in the initial FMP. What we have not done to date is identified anything for 23-24. That work is in process. And what we're going to do, we're going to bring it to the facilities committee meeting to make sure we explain it at that point. Then we're going to have Perkins and Will put together a presentation, and we'll make sure we share it with the superintendent.
I would like it's written. I can never come to those meetings because they're at 3 in the afternoon. My work schedule does not permit me to go to those meetings. I cannot be in a meeting.
So question,
We will make
So I would
sure,
like a scope
Yes, ma'am.
so we know what we can check and what we
we
don't.
will make sure that everything that's presented at the facilities meeting will be presented at the board meeting as well.
And it
We
is.
will
And
make
it-
sure that it is.
It is. Those
Carbon
meetings
copy.
they're recorded, they are on YouTube. Anyone can go online and they can find all the facility committee meetings.
Thank you so much. I just can't ask questions there.
And
We'll
that
make sure we
information,
present the same
On
thing
recording.
at the board meeting that we present at the facilities meeting with the recommendation of the superintendent.
and LT, that information for the record was given out at the January board meeting, right?
Correct.
Thank you.
So, any other questions before we get into the design schedule? So the design schedule that we're presenting here, you've seen a few times here, just an update on where we sit overall on this, the summer 22 projects. So we have gone through, you will get some more information from Gil Bain on some bid information today. We're done with the design efforts for this upcoming summer, and we're starting to receive submittals that are coming in here. We're continuing to keep an eye on availability of materials that we had recommended for early packages as well. So the design work also has begun for the next year's work, which is a continuation of the HVAC improvements at both East and West. So the ones that are being done this summer will be rolling into a next phase of improvements at both schools. And we're beginning in the design phases of those, identifying any material acquisition that needs to be done ahead of time, so that we understand the full schedule impact of any of those decisions that are made for that. And we anticipate seeing a bid for that again in the fall, when it's an optimal bid climate for the district. So I'll hand it over here to Jessica to give an update on the flood prevention. This is information that we've been updating as well as working through with the district to make sure that it meets the the needs that have been identified by the CLIC authority.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
may I would like to go ahead and release all of our employees, site-based employees, because we have PSAT tomorrow.
Good night, staff.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Jessica Wagner, and I'm an architect with Perkins & Will. And today I'm going to talk to you about some of the Proviso East stormwater management. So about a year ago, the district presented Perkins & Will with the task of coming up with an action plan based on recommendations to improve the stormwater management at East. We created a number of action items and grouped them in terms of immediate, midterm, and long-term actions. So as you'll see from the strike-through, there are a number of actions that have been completed already. All of the immediate actions have been completed, as well as some of the medium-term actions. Anything that you see in red, those are items that will be completed in the summer of 2022. So I'm not going to discuss all of them here in detail, but all of these actions are to help alleviate and minimize the chance of flooding. There were pumps that were installed to help discharge water to keep the water out of the tunnels and to reroute back to the Des Plaines River. Check valves were installed. This is one of probably offers the biggest improvement of many of these. The lines were jet washed and rotted out to help remove any debris that was installed, or not installed, that was existing in there. One of the items that is I want to talk about today that's happening this summer is there's going to be a complete underground plumbing as built completed this summer. And that is going to have all of the lines for both the sewer and sanitary are going to be checked. And that is going to help us give us a good idea of what exists right now so that we can complete the long-term actions. After we have a good idea of what's there, then we'll be able to develop an annual maintenance plan, working with the district for that, as well as rerouting the floor drains and upgrade the pumps and catch basins as well. So here we have some photos. This is work that has been completed, most of it last summer and last fall. These were improvements that were made to the temporary backup pumps. And as well, here are the check valves that were installed on last summer, last fall's work. And then finally, we have some updates to some requests that were made from the district. I know that there were some requests made regarding the East solar panels. And so this is something that Perkins & Will is working on right now with Alara. We're trying to develop a few options and trying to come up with the best solutions just in terms of power generation and in terms of making sure that there's something that's aesthetically pleasing as well, and not right in front of the school. So we're coming up with some options, and then we'll send those to Gilbane so they can obtain some pricing. And as well as we developed a scope to upgrade the district security camera system replacement that has been sent to Gilbane as well for estimation. And that concludes the Perkins & Will presentation. Are there any questions or comments?
The question as it relates to the plumbing, is that in any way tied into the overall plumbing of the facility over at East building? Are we looking at something different? We were informed of a $3 million per building plumbing job that needs to be done that we had tabled. So are we working that back in a different way? Is this tied to that or no?
This is the first step. This is mostly for the stormwater management.
Yeah, so there's two pieces to it, President. There's a stormwater management piece that was recommended by CLIC, and then the two pieces that you mentioned a few minutes ago is the domestic cold and hot water lines at Proviso East and Proviso West. We do have a proposal for a 4-phased approach to implement that work because Gilbane don't believe that we can get it all done in 1 or 2 summers. And right now we're actively engaging in conversation with the superintendent on the next steps for that work.
Okay, I'll just request that we make sure that when that is presented in midform, that is clarified as it relates to what we tabled with that $3 million apiece, because that was not going to get us adequate water. So I don't want us doing or moving anywhere towards that without clarity to the public as to how that fits into the $3 million. That would not work. If we rephased it or relooked at it and found a better way in 4 phases to do it, then that's fine. But the last instruction from the board was that we would not move forward on that because that $3 million per school would not guarantee us the working infrastructure for the water that we needed. So we just want to make sure that we're not coming about the back door to do something that the board has already said we would table and come up with a better plan. So if there's a better plan, then that can be presented to the committee and brought in front of the board. Not, let me just stay on top of that. We do not want to spend $3 million per school for water that still does not run.
Yeah, we totally understand, and no action has been taken on that, though.
Thank you, sir.
That's again.
All right, thank you.
I got just 3 minor questions.
Right.
On the generator, how come that's been delayed? And if it is being delayed, are we preparing to buy the equipment before the prices go high?
That has been delayed because of all the long lead times and the backup in the supply chain. That is expected to arrive, I believe, spring, summer next year, 2023.
Okay, my second question is
Yes,
on
it has been already.
okay. My second question is on the cameras. I know a few years, board members, you might remember this, we upgraded most of our cameras. Are we just upgrading the camera, the equipment itself? Are we adding, or what are we doing?
So over at Proviso East, the camera system is a Samsung, and it's roughly 6 or 7 years old. And at Proviso West, we have a Genetech system, and it's roughly the same amount of years old. The goal is to marry in all of those halfway new devices into a new head-end system here, so we can control our camera system from one centralized location, which will be the Math and Science Academy, but keep everything that we can marry into the new head-end to make sure that the cameras are working forwards and backwards, and we don't have any problems related to surveilling our campuses.
Okay, so the work done 4 years ago is mostly the newer type.
Yes, digital cameras that will be married into the new head-end system.
And last question on bid package 061, general trace work for Proviso East. I see the design estimate at 0, yet Boulder Construction came in at 40,000 for exploratory demo.
Yeah, so that exploratory demo was actually identified about 10 weeks ago. And the reason why it was identified is because Perkinsville and Alara was having some issues getting into the cavities to make sure that they can do a proper scope, because we had a few mistakes in phase 1. We want to make sure that we have money allocated for contractors to help with that work, but that is not something that we're going to spend 100% of. That is an estimated number off of last 6 to 8 weeks.
So this is a time and material estimate, kind of.
Yeah, 50, up to 57 openings. So the last investigatory work that we did at Proviso East, the operations and maintenance staff did it. We got roughly like a $40,000 or $50,000 estimation. Because of the larger holes that Perkinsville is requiring, we wanted to get an estimate from a contractor. But we do plan on marrying the Proviso staff in the event that we can save money. Something that we can handle in the proper time and turn school back over on Monday. We will be handling that work in-house. Any work that we cannot perform because of the magnitude of the work, then we're going to engage conversations with that alternate. That's what that's about.
Are we going to put 0/TNN on that just so we can know?
I could.
I mean, not just that, you know.
I could talk to Gilbert.
If you said TNN, I wouldn't ask you the question.
Yeah, I could talk to Gilbert about that.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Tom?
Good evening.
Good evening.
I want to introduce myself. It's probably the first time seeing my face in the board meeting, but my name is Tom Weeks, project manager with Gilbane. Michelle was unfortunately unavailable to attend tonight's meeting, so I'm filling in for her tonight. We're going to be going over a couple of items on here. Towards the end, again, we're going to discuss present the RTAs from both March and then the latest one for this month in April. First item on here, the procurement milestone dates. We've pretty much gone through all of these. We are in the contract award element now, where we're getting all the contracts put together, and then we're gearing up for that commencement of the job site work very shortly. Bid packages that have been awarded and the contracts that are pending. This is a general listing for both Proviso East and Proviso West High School. There are approximately 20 packages that are part of this. Again, we're going to highlight briefly on all of these here shortly when we discuss the RTAs. I think Michelle had received a request similarly to Perkinsville regarding the back check valves at the manholes. So again, I know Perkinsville kind of identified this. We've also carried this line item. These are similar photos that are identifying locations. You can see on the right-hand side with the drawing items that are in pink, number 1, 2, and 3, which is on the east side of Proviso East. That's where those locations are for those check valves. And then all the way on the right-hand side, just outside the boiler house area, is where check valve number 4 is located. So just wanted to highlight on that again. I know Michelle had been requested to provide this information as well. We're in spring. Spring is great. It's internship time. Last summer we had a great experience. We had 2 amazing students that worked alongside us when we did our construction work at both Proviso East and Proviso West. So we're starting that process again. We are out there now. I believe there was a newsletter I think was issued. So the students are now able to go to the website. They can complete the application. They can submit their video. The Gilbane Human Resources group will review all of those and then make the recommendations and select, again, 2 students that can work along with us. Great education opportunity for them. We love sharing with the students that have a high level of interest in the construction industry, just what we do and how we run the projects and so forth. So we're very excited to be able to do that again this summer with the work coming up. So that was all the items we had specifically on the Gilbane, so we can move now on to the recommendation to award. So these are, we'll start with the March 2022 action items. The first one here is bid package O2I, which is the ACM remediation work at East and West. With the recommendation for that is to go to Celtic Environmental.
That's how much is that over the estimated? The design estimate was 838, and the bid's coming in at what?
Okay, so yeah, the design estimate was 838,000, and that number came in at 983,000. So it was about 150 over the estimate for this particular one. The next item on here was bid package O2J, which was demolition work at Proviso East. The recommendation award for this one is to Omega 3. This is a
Where is that at?
I don't see it.
But I don't see it.
I think it's not in here, but it's
not in here.
referencing the numbers.
Yeah, this is, what we're presenting now is a recap of March RTAs. So,
We're looking at, we have 8 on our book, right?
Yeah, the ones in here are 8.
Yeah.
so the design estimate on this was $1 million. I think I heard the question of why the price is so different. Did we hear that question? Remember, these are professional estimates, and you do have tradesmen that work for these companies that are beginners, meaning, help me out with when you start with the unions, you are a journeyman. You are a journeyman. Yeah, so those hourly wages are different. This company, I'm sure, have more journeymen than foremen on the job, so you do get a cost break.
Between 578 and 21,000.
Yes, ma'am.
That's huge.
Next item was for bid package O2K, which was the demolition work at Proviso West High School. Recommendation award for that was to National Wrecking. Their number came in at $188,500, with that estimate at $691,603. Next item was bid package O6I, general trades work for Proviso East. Recommendation to award for that was to Bowler Construction. They came in at $2,786,000, with the design estimate at $2,433,241. Next Next item was bid package 06J, which is the general trades work for Proviso West. Recommendation to award for that was for Edwin Anderson, whose number came in at $852,000. The design estimate at the time was $1,256,955. Next item was bid package 08C, which is curtain wall work for Proviso West. The recommendation is for 3F Corporation. The amount for their contract is $268,000. The design estimate for that work was $401,148. Next item was bid package 098, which is acoustic ceiling tile work at Proviso East. Recommendation to award is to Cole Construction. Their bid amount was $330,000. Design estimate was $463,778. Next bid package is 09J, acoustic ceiling tile work at Proviso West High School. Again, the recommendation to award for that is Cole Construction. Their number came in at $85,000. The design estimate for this was $72,600. Next item was bid package 22G, which is plumbing work for Proviso East. Recommendation to awards for C.R. Leonard, whose number came in at $305,000. The design estimate was $744,876. Next bid package was 23K, which was mechanical piping work for the generator at Proviso East. Recommendation to award is for Quality Control Solutions. Their number came in at $135,000. The design estimate was $66,500. Next item was bid package 23M, mechanical piping work for Proviso East. The recommendation to award is for Premier Mechanical. Their number came in at $1,035,556. The design estimate for this was $1,507,638. Bid package 23N, which is mechanical ductwork and temperature controls work for Proviso East. Recommendation to award is for Amber Mechanical. Their number came in at $1,765,000. The design estimate was $1,710,434. Next bid package was bid package 23P, mechanical piping work at Proviso West. Recommendation to award is Quality Control Solutions. Their number came in at $1,892,000. The design estimate was $1,885,103. Next item was bid package 23Q. That's the mechanical ductwork, temperature controls work, Proviso West. Recommendation to award is to Amber Mechanical. Their number came in at $699,500. The design estimate for this was $496,722. Bid package 26I, that's electrical work for Proviso East. We're recommending Meany Electrical. Their bid number was $1,850,000. The design estimate for this was $1,462,194. Next bid package is 26J, which is electrical work for Proviso West. Recommendation to award is to Meany Electric for $235,000. The design estimate was $478,305. And then, I'm sorry.
We only had 3 in the book. How many more?
These are from last month. You guys approved them last month. We just wanted to bring these to your attention of what you approved last month. Within the next slide or two, we're going to go into the April.
I think this is the last one.
We're going to go into the April ones.
We don't have a record of any of that, so I mean, you're reading something we can't read there.
Yeah, it was in last month.
It was in
Yeah,
last
I
month's
understand,
board.
but that's a lot, right? We should probably be, this is good because we have in front of us, we know what we're looking at.
All right, the last one here is bid package 31I, site paving work for Proviso West. Recommendations to shorter paving for $619,750. The design estimate on this one was $866,901. All right, so these are the new ones for the April action items. The first item on here is bid package 09I. And this is for painting work at Proviso East. Recommendation to award for this one is Cosgrove Construction. Their bid came in at $162,000. Their design estimate was $218,532. The next one is bid package 09K. It's the painting work for Proviso West. recommendation to award again is to Cosgrove Construction for $102,000. The design estimate for this was $239,663. The next item is bid package 23O. That is for the mechanical installation work at Proviso East. The recommendation for award for this is JC Insulation. Their number came in at $317,000. The design estimate was $324,112. And then the last one is bid package 23R, which is mechanical insulation work at Proviso West. Recommendation again is for JC Insulation. Their number came in at $164,000. The design estimate was $109,411. And then this is actually the exploratory demolition alternate for $40,000 for Bowler Construction. So this was a number they included in their bid when they provided their bid. Was inclusive of this number, so now we're just presenting it. As LT had indicated, we'll proceed with it, and then we'll be able to back out whatever portion they did not complete. If the district elects to do some of that work, we'll be able to back out and return that money back to the district for unspent use of this alternate.
So is that with the painting or what for the district?
For the exploratory demolition?
Yes.
So in essence.
Oh, the exploratory dem.
Yeah, that's what this $40,000 is for. Correct.
With the painting, could it have been possible that some of our maintenance / custodians could have done some of that work? Extra money for them?
Great question, Ms. Kelly. Absolutely, we always make sure we are inclusive with our operations and maintenance department employees. One thing we're doing, we have to make sure that we clean out the spaces at Proviso East and Proviso West and get them ready for construction. That's going to happen on or right after the 15th and 16th of June. So that overtime sheet has been posted for consideration for the employees. In addition to that, we have a move back in at the end of the construction. My main focus related to the painting is to ensure that we don't negatively impact the schedule because we don't have the amount of manpower that a painting company would have, meaning extra bodies whenever they need work 2 shifts. And along with that, the operations and maintenance department do have preventative maintenance duties that they need to complete within that 8 to 9 week time frame in the summer. And it would be problematic if we added on.
Could it be overtime?
We're offering, yes ma'am. We're offering overtime for the furniture, move in and move out, and we're going to be offering overtime for some of this exploratory demo. So there's a collaboration piece to ensure that we're being equitable with the construction workers and the maintenance workers as well. And we're getting positive feedback from the maintenance team, so we're going to make sure that we keep that in mind and present it to Dr. Henderson like we did with the last exploratory demo that was slated to be about $116,000. I think we did it in-house for less than 40, so we're mindful of those costs, and we got to make sure that we keep ourselves in the loop to save money.
And then my next question is this. Well, I'd first like to congratulate Gil Bain, because I know some of this is going to come to Proviso. I was reading an article and it says, Gil Bain sets bold goal of generating $4 billion in awards to minority and women-owned, disadvantaged, and veteran businesses over 5 years. So I know we're going to get some of that here too, right?
We started already.
Congratulations.
So with the April RTAs, what was the percentage, Tom, for MDEW? We're in the 60 percentile for the last 5 RTAs.
Yeah, JC Insulation is a 100% minority-based company for their entire contracts, both of them.
Now here's a question. So in doing a little bit of research, and I have nothing to do with it, there are companies that can bid for certain types of, or can apply for certain types of qualifications or classifications that doesn't necessarily make that company sub. Is that correct? You know what I'm talking about? So if I wanted to apply for a certain type of minority status, as a company, it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm a minority status, but there's stipulations within that qualification that I can apply for that, so that when I bid, I can say that I am that. So would that be based upon hiring or perspective?
No, honestly, I'm not sure how those certifications work exactly, but there's a certification process for them to get that certification. I couldn't speak exactly.
So I'm not too far off. I just mentioned it. Okay, thanks.
Yep.
I have a question. So I know based on previous board meetings, we called out Gil Bain as their estimating strategies just because we were under on our engineer's estimate and we were getting hit with 40–50% estimates over what we don't know that we need materials and everything else that costs the construction. But now I see that your estimates are coming in right, I would say 10–15% or even less. So my question to you is, what kind of estimating strategies are used by Gil Bain? Historical estimate, lump sum, square footage, detail unit?
So our estimators use, it depends on what the discipline of work is. So they utilize lump sum, they have allowances they build in for certain elements, other elements it is linear footages and square footages and things of that nature. And the one thing that happened previously, if you recall, is I don't think we carried the proper escalation that the current environment was requiring. These latest estimates, they're making sure that they've got the appropriate escalation built into it to make sure we're covering all those added supply costs and things of that nature.
Okay, with that being said, how do you explain, and I'm not trying to get at you, I'm just trying to understand what happened here, because it seems like you turned over a new leaf. And as the person who works in construction, if I say I do my engineer's estimate at 400,000 and you come in at 200,000, well, you missed something. How are you guys being confident in taking those 40–50% less than the engineer's estimate and calling that contractor a responsible bidder with him not coming back at the board or at the school district with saying, okay, here's a change order, change order, change order, change order. How are you gonna deal with that?
So we have,
or how do you, I'm sorry, so how are you dealing with these bidders that come in at 40–50% less than what the engineer's estimate came in without, you're gonna get hit with a change order. When I see numbers like that, you're like, this guy's gonna hit it with a change order, so something's coming. So how are you gonna deal with that?
So we have a very thorough scope review process. So if I have a proposal form for a contractor and I've got 50 line items in there that explains to them what their work is, I get confirmation from them verbally that they've included each item. I mean, I read item by item by item and they acknowledge, yes, we've included, yes, we've included.
After they receive after they're awarded, right?
Correct. Actually, that's before. So we do that before we're here. So before I give LT in the district the RTA, we have an enormously thorough scope review with each contractor to make sure, because we've had times, I mean, there's been 1 or 2 times where it's been identified a contractor missed something, and then we have to work through that. So we do have a very thorough vetting process with these guys.
Yeah, it just concerns me when it's 50% less than you're going to come in with a change order for $500,000.
Understood.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions?
Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I believe Dr. Hendricks stepped away for a minute.
You can take over.
I think that's it.
That concludes the superintendent's report.
That concludes the superintendent's report. At this point, we'll hear citizens' comments. Citizen comments are 3 minutes and gives the public the opportunity to address the board. Although many of us would be happy to have a dialogue with you at any point, this part of the agenda is unfortunately not a dialogue. We'll take them to get back to you with any action items required prior to the next meeting of the Board of Education. Although we appreciate your ideas, thoughts, feedback, and hear your grievances, any topics brought forth during this portion of the agenda will not influence the agenda that has been set for the last few weeks. Ms. Grant, you have the floor.
Our first speaker is Alicia Diaz.
to use the microphone, okay?
I would like to wait for the superintendent.
Okay, we can call him, wait, in another order if that's okay. Okay.
Crystal McAllister is next.
Hello.
Good evening.
Speak straight into the microphone so that they can hear you online.
I'm Crystal McAllister, and I've been a teacher at East. I've been teaching at Proviso for almost 18 years at both West and East, almost half my life. And during the first 2 days of Institutes this year, several of you and some administrators spoke of how you're going to support teachers. Most of this year, me and many of my coworkers do not feel supported, do not feel appreciated, and most importantly, do not feel safe. If I feel this way, my coworkers feel this way, how do our students feel? Please remember that teachers' working conditions are students' learning conditions.
Yes.
Please improve the support at our schools. I know it's been said almost every meeting I've been to. We need deans. We need IT, back at least one person every day. Department or division heads, more security, someone to manage attendance issues. I just can't imagine what our principals and assistant principals are doing where they're doing like 2 or 3 people's jobs this year. I can't imagine. Please improve communication. This has been an issue since I've been here, so we can feel safer. For instance, we had a lockdown Wednesday when students were boarding buses to go home because of gunshots or sounds that were thought to be gunshots outside our school. There was no announcement or email to let us know it was happening, only an announcement when it was over, and this is when we're all leaving. There was no communication afterwards. There's still no communication about it. When there's no communication over something so concerning and bothering, all we can do is get into our minds and rumors start. It doesn't help with the culture or of the building or our district. Because of this lack of support and communication, I do not feel safe at work this year. God, I've been here 18 years. This year I do not feel safe. I'm losing sleep. My physical and mental health is greatly affected. After last week and yesterday's fights, many coworkers and myself were very upset, and several of us had blood splattered in front of our doors after the fights. I just can't even get into why we're upset, because it's just there. If we feel this way, how do our students, other teachers, besides my little corner, staff, administrators, the people you're here to support, how do they feel? Please improve the support and culture of our district. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Maria Maxim. Just gonna reach this in.
Hello, can you hear me?
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Maria Maxam. I am a Proviso resident, a parent of a PMSA junior, and a Village of Forest Park commissioner, or trustee as they're called in other towns. I have 2 comments I want to make tonight. First, I want to comment on what I consider the failure of 5 out of 7 of the board members to insist on itemization of credit card bills. This month, the bill is almost $40,000. As a village trustee, I would never vote to approve something that large without an itemized, complete list of what I'm approving. I trust my mayor, I trust my village administrator, but it is my duty as a public servant to make sure that I know exactly what it is I'm approving. So I hope that when you do your chat and choose, or at some point you are getting an itemized list. Because if you are not, and you're approving this every month, it is a shameful failure to fulfill your obligations as board members. Second, I want to talk about lack of communication regarding a situation that happened with my son, who's a junior here at PMSA. He had a teacher who was on leave for several weeks, and nobody from the district reached out to tell me. Not an administrator, not a principal, not a teacher. I finally learned about it 4 weeks into this happening from my son and from some other students. And it took me reaching out to 3 different District 209 administrators, I guess, to get an explanation and confirmation that this was happening. Dr. Henderson, you talked earlier tonight about building bridges, but that kind of lack of communication that comes from you, from the top, is the opposite of building bridges. And I really want to see you and the board majority just do better. Thank you.
Next we have Alicia Diaz.
Hello, good night, members of the board. My name is Alicia Diaz. I'm a parent from Proviso East. So I'm here because I'm really, really worried about what's happening. So not this week, not the last month, for the whole year. Almost every single day is a one fight. Fight in the hallway, fight on the street, fight inside to the school. So my question is, what are they doing now about these guys? So that's my question, because my daughter, she's not feeling safety. Even me, my family, you know? So I don't know if someone of you guys can answer my question. What are you doing? So I'm sorry, principal. So you are talking about like the safety because we need to continue forward, whatever. But what are you doing? What are you doing about the safety? I don't know if you know about this. I would like to hear one answer.
Let us get your name, and we will get back with you tomorrow. Ms. Smith, will you get her name, please?
So, but what are you talking about right now?
Now, this is comments, we don't dialogue, so someone will call you in the morning now.
Okay.
Thank
So
you.
another thing. So on the beginning of the year, so my student passed almost 1 month without a teacher. Without a teacher. So what's going on too, you know? So that's what I'm worried about. So another thing, poor communication with the parents. So how is it possible, like you send or you make robocalls, inform to about the games, the everything about the another thing, nothing about like the problems what happened in the school. So my daughter, she was present yesterday at one fire on the hallway in Proviso East. On the hallway, you can see on the video a lot of blood on the floor. And nobody called me and never received any email about this issue. And another question for Mr. Samuel Gutierrez. So you know, I don't know if you know, the 60, almost 70% is Hispanic community. My question is, what are you doing for all communities? What are you doing? What are you doing, Mr. Medina? That's another question. That's what I would like you answer the question.
That's your time, Ms. Diaz.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Scott Henderson.
Good evening. Is that working? Good evening, board.
Good evening.
Here we go. Good evening.
It's not working.
Not working. Not working. All right, I'll use my teacher voice, which I will practice in. Good evening, board. I'm Scott Hendrickson. I'm a proud Proviso West teacher for 17 years. I am a proud member of the Proviso Teachers Union, and I'm an officer of that union. I'd like tonight to thank all of the local elected officials, parents and students, and community members who have supported Proviso teachers. Your assistance, backing, and encouragement have been cherished and appreciated. We look forward to continued participation with you in the future. The goals that we set out to reach at the beginning of this last negotiation cycle process have not been realized. These goals would have set the conditions, the climate, the culture to improve learning outcomes for students. We Proviso teachers will not rest until these goals are accomplished. Proviso teachers are not going to back down, we are not going to disengage, and we are not going to go back to business as usual. We look forward to working with the local elected officials, parents, and community to continue doing what is necessary to make our schools better and safer for our students. If the board would like to partner with us in this endeavor, we welcome that. But understand that actions speak louder than words. If they do not, that's fine. Proviso teachers will continue to work with those who supported us and intend to keep doing what is best for our schools and our students. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Ellen Bruin. Ellen Bruin. Instead, we'll move on to Neil Rutstein.
Good evening, board, superintendent, and the entire Proviso community. My name is Neil Rutstein, and I am a teacher in this district. I rise to speak tonight because I am too astonished to stay silent. As we all know, Proviso has just endured its longest strike in its history. What some might not know is that the strike was settled only after a slim majority of the teachers agreed to the harsh and damaging terms forced upon us by the board. We chose to stand out in the cold and in the rain and give up our paychecks to get a contract that would be competitive in our area so that we might attract and retain the best teachers for our students. But through the board's campaign of delay and intimidation, including the threat to cut off our health insurance during a pandemic, a fair majority of the teachers, many of whom have young children with serious health conditions, felt they had no choice but to accept a contract that keeps its teachers the lowest paid, thus ensuring that this district remains separate and unequal. But however short-sighted and self-sabotaging this new contract is, it is done, so there is little point in relitigating it. Instead, we now have over 2 years before this new contract expires. You might expect that during this period of peace, the administration would begin the necessary work of repairing its tattered relationship with the teachers and rebuilding its reputation with the community. But here is the astonishing part. Even after getting everything it wanted in the contract, including, for reasons they must explain, demanding the unchecked power to pay sports coaches as much as they like, the board continues to view its teachers and the community with contempt. Did you know that many classes in this district do not have teachers, even this late in the school year? And the students in these classes have to learn their subjects on their own using a prepackaged computer program. Here is a prime example, but not a surprising one, of this district's low teacher salaries coming home to roost. But that's not all. Just last week, all the teachers were sent an email from the administration with a link to a news story out of Texas about some teachers there who were getting free lunches meant for students. Even though absolutely no evidence was suggested that any teachers in this district were engaged in this practice, we were being reminded that eating on this district's dime was not permitted, as if we were the ones doing such a thing. And it is not only the teachers who are being treated with contempt. Upon the return to the classrooms, the students were promised by the district a pizza party and a DJ to celebrate the resumption of their education. but come the appointed day, there was no pizza, there was no DJ. Instead, only a donut for the students to grab as they were sent out of the building. Computer programs instead of teachers, prioritizing coaches' salaries, implement implications that Proviso teachers steal, and broken promises to students. Are these the kind of practices the community can expect for the next 2 years? Members of the board, I believe you can do better, and your students need you to do better. But if you either can't or won't, the community will have no alternative but to find those who will. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Michaela Soto.
Good evening, board.
Good evening.
My name is Michaela Soto. I'm a teacher at Proviso East. I also have a 9th grader there. I've been before you multiple times. A few things that are concerning. The lockdown that happened at Proviso East yesterday, I still received no communication as a parent stating what happened, what caused it, how long it lasted, anything of that nature. I feel like that's unacceptable. When parents have come up here, when teachers have come up here, when community members have come up here to talk about communications, we're not exaggerating the circumstance. It's really plain as day. This is beyond trying to bicker back and forth for name calling, you want to get that kind of stuff. This is serious help that is needed between the district and the community members and the parents. I would really appreciate it if you all would encourage the superintendent, encourage yourselves, encourage the district or the building administrators to improve communication across the board. Second, I just couldn't help it. Influencer on your shirt. Influencer on your shirt. You use your influence to rob our children of security staff, of deans in our buildings, of human resources. That's what you use your influence for. So I did. I found it really funny that you actually wore that on your shirt because you use your influence to rob our children of what they deserve, the deans they deserve. Okay? We have all this money for all these 5th floor admin. Our children need deans in the buildings. It's not just a discipline issue. It's the rapport that they build. It's the steady bodies in the hallway that are kind of monitoring and there and present and focused. You all are district board members. You're not in our buildings every day. You might have, some of you might have educational experience, that's fine, but you're not in our building every day. And so you might miss these things. And while you think we're coming at you trying to just throw you under the bus, we're coming to you with facts. This is the help that we need in order for our buildings to function. You didn't see these many fights at Proviso East pre-pandemic. Matter of fact, you see kids in the hallway, when stuff was kicking off, kids would shut it down. We don't do that in here. That was our students. That was because of the pirate proof that the dean set up, that our administrators enforced, and that was carried out with fidelity. That is what we're losing. We have no policy. Can the district set, this is for you all, for real. Can the district set a real attendance policy that we actually stick to and hold parents accountable to, hold students accountable to? Because when we say things and nothing is implemented with fidelity, everything falls to pieces. And that is why we're in the situation we're in. So please, use your influence for something positive.
That's time for you.
Thank you.
That concludes the business matter.
Thank you. Manager. I'm going to take this time to thank my fellow board members for their incredible dedication. So I want to take this time to thank my fellow board members for your incredible dedication, your incredible follow-through, your commitment to equity, and not just a cliche, your commitment to the process of change. Abraham Lincoln talking to a crowd one day,
and he asked him a question. He says, if you consider the tail on a dog a leg, how many legs does a dog have? A few people answered. We sat back and they said 5. And Abe said, no, it's 4. Just because you consider the tail a leg doesn't in fact make it one. And I say that to say that we live in a culture and a society now where facts just don't seem to matter anymore. I sat quiet. I looked at you. I gave you my full attention. I took notes. But you want to sit here and continue to be disrespectful to me. Okay. There's this misconception that volunteers deserve to be raked through the coals, humiliated, called out of our names, bullied, and we're supposed to capitulate to that. Dr. Henderson, Mr. Gleason, I want to thank you guys for all the work and the hours that you put in to fulfill your instructions by this Board of Education. Nothing more and nothing less. You've done everything that this board has asked you to do, and we thank you for staying true to your word and your professionalism and being capable of delivering the results that this community has desired and asked you for. I want to thank all of my administrators for the hard work that you do. We understand and realize that you put in a lot more hours and do a lot more than you'll probably ever be recognized for. I want you to understand that this board appreciates you. And we know the heavy lifting that it must take to change this district and to create academic outcomes that are sufficient and deserving of our scholars. So thank you for the time and the efforts that you put in, for the unappreciative jabs that you must take about your salaries and what you make as if you're not a part of the district, the unappreciative jabs that you have to take and the erroneous questioning from some of my board members up here. And thank you. Thank you. It's hard, Dr. Henderson. It is hard, board. Thank you to the teachers. Gotten so many calls from teachers. And we've had some great conversations. Some of you I've talked to every day almost. Thank you. Board, do you believe I was invited with my family to Easter service with a teacher? Yeah, with a teacher. Invited me and my family to come to Easter service next Sunday. Thank you for that encouragement. Thank you for that understanding. Thank you for agreeing to disagree in a respectful way and picking up the phone and calling and having those conversations during the times where things were a little rough and tough and respecting the fact that I was not negotiating with you, but we could still talk. Thank you. I want to thank the community members for all the support that they gave to this board, for the calls of encouragement and hang in there and that you guys are going to be okay. I want to thank those community members. I want to thank the public officials. And Ms. Kelly, you told me not to use this word, so I won't use this word. I want to thank the elected officials that did not play politics with the seriousness of what you guys were asking us for in that process, which is a legal process. It's not a political one. So I want to thank those public officials that made their statements and did the right thing and did not try to interfere with the very serious negotiation process. I want to thank those people. I want to thank those of you teachers that come in here every day and do your jobs and trust and believe. We hear, I have a son in the district, so I hear it every day. I am in tune to those changes, and we are going to be working our fingers to the bone this summer in tandem with the superintendent to make sure that next year is a lot better than next year, or this year, or next year is a lot better than this one was. We have a lot of considerations and things to think about as it relates to what our scholars are going through. We understand the demographic and the age of most of the disruptions and the issues that we're having as a district. And to my knowledge, Dr. Henderson, we've only had these children for a few months. This is not Proviso. So we have to get the record straight and tell the truth as it relates to what's going on in our district. And that we're inheriting a lot of students that have come through this pandemic and have been affected. And I think this is happening nationwide. So it's not just a Proviso issue. This is nationwide. But I was speaking to a teacher yesterday. And he says, Rodney, what now? What does it look like now?
I said, we've gone through all of this and we've come to this point, what now? And I said, you know what, and I won't say his name. I said, you know what, maybe the adults in the room will decide to work together. Maybe the adults in the room will decide to come to the table in a respectful way and understand that we're all one community with 1,001 different backgrounds and ideas, but all trying to go the same place. But there's a constructive way to do that, and then there's a way that we just waste a whole bunch of time. I want to thank the board for holding the line. We don't agree a lot of times on a lot of things, but we do know what's right and what we want for this district and what we've been asked to do by this community. And it's not always popular to take that stand, to have to answer those questions. But I believe the majority of us sleep very well with the decisions that we make up here. We had lives before the board and we'll have lives after them. And I walk around in the stores in this community and shop and walk around the school, and I keep my head up because I can answer any question that's proposed to me about anything that this board is doing with a straight face and facts. So those teachers that have taken the time to call me and get that information, thank you. For those community members that have called to get that information, thank you. There's nothing hidden. We're not doing anything in secret. We want and deserve better schools for Proviso, that's it. And everyone's accountable, not just the teachers. Dr. Henderson, the administration. For the last 2 years, I've done my best to hold my board accountable, and all I can do is let you know when we're not being accountable. We have our oath of office in our board book. And for the life of me, people just continue to want to applaud the foolishness. You know, a teacher said something to me that was interesting, Doc. And he said that he understood my passion. And he went on to compare his culture to mine and tried to make some type of correlation as it relates to what we deal with as black men and black people. I don't bring it up enough because it's not even worth necessarily doing so. We inherit this fight. But it's amazing how Latino folks can come up in front of this DS and sit on this board and talk about their numbers, and no one thinks that there's anything wrong with that. That that's not prejudiced or bigoted. That just because you have the numbers, you have the right up here to come up here and ask any board member what they're doing for just your community, as if that's their only elected, the only people that elected them were you. This is the culture and the climate that we have to change. Because if Rodney Alexander sat up here and said pro-black everything, what about black? And the only thing that came out of my mouth was black students, I can imagine the fodder that you guys would have with that. No, Rodney Alexander demands equal treatment and equity. That's real in action. So our LGBTQ community, there are certain names and pronouns that we use out of respect. Whether we agree with that lifestyle or not, we respect those people. Our Latino community, we provided safe schools. ICE cannot come in here without a warrant. This is what this board has resoluted and done. Our students are safe. No students have been separated or taken off of our campuses since I've been on this board. That's what this board has actively done. Just gonna keep doing it. Yeah. Well, you can leave. Okay. Yeah. You don't have to listen to me. But there's a whole community. Okay, well, it'd be nice if you act like it.
Oh, she does.
Then here you go. They just bait me, Doc, all the time. They just bait me. They just bait me. Okay, Ms. I'm sorry for addressing you. The Latino community is just as important and no more important than any other group in this district. And I've said it before, I could really care less about how many numbers you have. You'll get no special treatment. That's not equity. So saying that to this board is almost an insult to me, because it proceeds to things that tell us that we have to do something special for you because you have the numbers. Well, for years, the black community had the numbers over here. And we didn't ask those same questions. We've always been inclusive, and we're inclusive now.
You have not always been inclusive. The other students used to be
Okay, excuse me.
From the audience.
Security.
Security. No, I don't care. Security can't come.
Okay.
But you can't
Good
say
night,
you've
ma'am.
always been inclusive
Good
because
night.
you are wrong.
Good night.
You are wrong.
Good night.
We have not
Security.
always been inclusive.
Mr. Womack, please escort her out. You're not gonna stay here and disrupt my meeting, ma'am.
Oh, yes, I am.
Oh, no, you're not.
Everything you said is fact, but
Okay.
it's not.
Okay. This is not your time to talk.
We used to bus all of our kids to
Ma'am, this is not your meeting.
I don't care.
I know you
It's not
don't.
yours either, 'cause
I know you don't. It is mine. It is mine. Okay? So you can leave. You can leave now.
I'm sitting here.
All right. Get Forest Park.
Let's just, this
Come on, that's
Mm-mm.
just
No, excuse me. Excuse me.
Mr.
And
President,
y'all got bail.
let's just move on with this meeting. It's okay.
Stop
This is
intimidating
not,
Latino
this is
women, that's
not
what you
the
do
right
every
thing
board
to do.
meeting.
Let's just move on.
Ms. Soto, I'm going to ask you respectfully to please refrain from interrupting my meeting. Can I ask you that, ma'am?
When you speak,
You have my phone number. Yo, you cannot speak at my meeting, ma'am. This is not a
You
dialogue.
just asked me a question. You just asked me a question, I responded.
Can you respect my, no, that's not how it's going to work, ma'am. I'm asking you. Okay, since you choose to have this dialogue, no, I'm not going to call for, I'm not going to call for a part, ma'am. Okay,
Rodney, you can't argue, just
okay.
go on.
All right, Dan, you're right. Well, ma'am, move away. This is what we deal with. I'm sorry. This is what we deal with. You're right. Always get baited. I always fall.
Just say
It's
something,
hard.
just say something inspirational, let's go.
All right. So as we move forward, I'm going to say something real inspirational. So at the last meeting, and I'm about to close with the president's comments. So at the last meeting, we experienced something that was just detestable. And you know, it's very hard because I'm just a man, I'm not a politician, so a politician would be able to take that stuff and just sit back and polish it. No, I'm not that person, and it's very hard to, but it's necessary, I understand, and I apologize publicly for any of that. It's just hard. It's just hard. So at the meeting in March, I think we had a test of all tests. I was called a coon, Dr. Henderson, by the audience. I was called the N-word by the audience. And we sat and watched. And I think the term for a board is Karen. I think the term is Karen. When white women bait and trap black men and then call the police on them and try to have them arrested. I sat right there at the board table and watched a Karen move. Now the seriousness of this community, because we don't double standards while Rodney's on this board. The seriousness of this is this person promoted and pushed up on our superintendent and then cried foul. I watched it happen right in front of me. Sent a clip to the newspapers that showed his response and reaction at the last minute, but did not show the entire assault. When we posted that, all of the murmur went away. When we talk about education, folks, we gotta be serious. Emmett Till in 1955 was killed because a white woman said he whistled at her. Black men are still killed on this street because of things people think and say about us. This is serious. So we shouldn't be clapping and applauding. They tried to take the superintendent's freedom and livelihood just because you don't like him. Wow. Wow. So don't tell me Black Lives Matter when you applaud that type of behavior. And watch this, Doc. I read a newspaper article where this editor had the nerve to call you and me middle-aged white men that stormed the Capitol. Listen, Proviso, we gotta do better.
Yes, we do.
We gotta do better. And we will continue to do better once we realize that we're in this lot together. We represent the community, and until the community says different, this is what you have to deal with. So, deal with it. We're open, we're available. Now here's the good news. You ready, Ned?
Sure.
So could you add what the superintendent said to me? Thank you.
Here's good news, folks. Y'all ready? You sit down. This is Rodney Alexander's last meeting as the presiding president. I want to thank you for the time of my life. I've enjoyed each and every one of you. I want to thank my board for allowing me to sit here for 2 years and direct these meetings and keep us on track. Dr. Henderson, I think we're batting 100. I think we're batting 100. Everything that we've proposed or put before the board has passed, and our meetings have been orderly, save one board member. We're doing pretty good. To the next person that sits here, I pledge my complete support, and we will continue to move this district forward. We will continue to move this district forward. But make no doubts about it, we're playing with lives here, and Della said it best. Our children are looking at us. And it breaks my heart every time I fall for this stuff. It really does. I gotta go home and be like, dang, got me again. Well, I'll get a chance to cool out for a couple years, Mr. Gleason, and sit over in my corner with my bag of candy and hopefully be quiet. Consent agenda. Any items to be pulled from the consent agenda?
Yes.
What you got?
I'd like to pull 13C.
Give me a sec, hold on. All right, go ahead.
G, H, I.
Anything else? Hearing none, can I get a motion?
D.
You said D also?
Mhm.
So you just want to pull the whole?
A.
You just want to pull the whole consent agenda? A, and you said D. A, D, 13A, D, C, G, H, and I. Is that correct?
And sorry, 13, I'm writing this down. 13A, 13C,
13D,
13G, 13H.
H, and 13I.
Yeah, that's what I got.
Okay,
Thank you.
great. Okay. Any others? Can I get a motion
Yes,
to approve?
I'd like to pull personnel report 13A, E6.
You already,
You already pulled 13E.
No, it's D.
No, you pulled 13, you didn't pull E. So you just want to pull 13E. What was it again?
E, 13E, 13E, 2, 2A,
E,
A6.
13E. I don't even see a 13. Are you in the revised personnel report now? Or are you in the book? So we have to pull it from the revised personnel report.
I don't see it. Okay. It's 2, 6.
2A6.
Mm-hmm.
Got it.
A6, yes.
So that's E2A6. Any other items? Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda minus item 13A, C, D, G, H, I, and E2A6?
So moved.
Second. Ms. Graham, please, discussion? Ms. Graham, please call the roll.
Mrs. Kelly,
Aye.
Mrs. Medina,
Nay.
Mrs. Patterson, Ms. Grant, aye. Mr. Gutierrez,
Aye.
Mr. Wagner,
Aye.
Mr. Alexander.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Can I get a motion to approve consent agenda item 13A?
So moved.
Second, discussion.
Discussion, the minutes are not accurate. There's a lot of things missing in them. There's no, the descriptions are not everything that occurred at the meeting. I think they're deficient.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Grant, can I get a motion to approve consent agenda item 13A? I'm sorry, we already did that. Please call the roll.
Sure. Mrs. Patterson, Ms. Grant, nay. Mr. Gutierrez,
Aye.
Mr. Wagner,
Aye.
Mrs. Kelly,
Aye.
Mrs. Medina,
Nay.
Mr. Alexander.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Can I get a motion to approve item 13D?
Which number? 13 who?
D.
D?
Yes.
It's C.
I'm sorry, I had it written down D first. 13C.
So moved.
Second. Discussion?
Discussion. Did this item go out to bid?
Doesn't have to.
It's over $25,000.
It's technology, doesn't have to.
Did not go out to bid?
No.
Did we get any other quotes?
Yes.
We did get other quotes?
Hmm?
Do you know what those were?
I do not. Dr. Williams, do you have that information?
That's fine, I don't need the information to vote. That was my question. Did we get quotes?
Yes, we got
I mean, we don't have time to print them out and show everyone, so.
Any other discussion? Ms. Grant, please call the roll.
Sure, Ms. Grant, nay. Mr. Gutierrez.
Aye.
Mr. Wagner.
Aye.
Mrs. Kelly.
Aye.
Mrs. Medina.
Nay.
Mrs. Patterson.
Aye.
Mr. Alexander.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Can I get a motion to approve item 13D?
So moved.
Second. Discussion? Ms. Grant, please call the roll.
Mr. Gutierrez.
Aye.
Mr. Wagner.
Aye.
Mrs. Kelly.
Aye.
Mrs. Medina.
Nay.
Mrs. Patterson.
Aye.
Ms. Grant. Aye. Mr. Alexander.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Can I get a motion to approve item 13G?
13E. E.
Did I skip E again? Goodness gracious. 13E to A6.
So moved.
Second. Discussion?
Discussion, looking at the list, this is almost a $30,000 raise, which I do not know if we're gonna have any TRS issues. I don't think that this is correct.
Thank you. Point taken. Any other discussion? Ms. Grant, please call the roll.
Sure, Mr. Wagner.
Aye.
Mrs. Kelly.
Aye.
Mrs. Medina.
Nay.
Mrs. Patterson.
Aye.
Ms. Grant. Aye. Mr. Gutierrez.
Aye.
Mr. Alexander.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Can I get a motion to approve item 13G?
So moved.
Second. Discussion? Ms. Grant, please call.
Discussion. The approval of the collective bargaining agreement,
Are we on F?
we're on G, we're on G, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did we skip that?
Really pull
That
that.
was the most part.
Oh, we didn't vote on it, did we?
Yeah, it's the consent agenda.
Go on.
When we're meant to, vote on something that's this monumentous, the board needs to get these contracts, to get what terms were accepted, were not accepted. We weren't able to go over with detail. I never saw the agreement until I got to the meeting. I don't think that this is acceptable.
Point taken. Any other discussion?
Well, I remember receiving a copy of the contract, like right after it was ratified by the teachers.
Yeah, because you're part of the email,
Yeah, I'm not suing the superintendent either, so I had that privilege.
Yeah.
No, it's not a privilege. All
It
board
is.
members, according to his contract, need to get the same information.
Okay, thanks, Ms. Medina. Any other discussion? Ms. Grant, please call the roll.
Mrs. Kelly.
Aye.
Ms. Medina.
Nay.
Mrs. Patterson.
Aye.
Ms. Grant, abstain. Mr. Gutierrez.
Aye.
Mr. Wagner.
Aye.
Mr. Alexander.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Can I get a motion to approve item 13H?
So moved.
Second.
You have to say what that is.
Okay, I have to read that one.
Where do you see that there?
Pages.
It might not be in there. I never had that item in
No,
the
I got
board
it.
book at all.
I got it. Can I get a motion to approve the superintendent's recommendation for removal of Dr. Kevin Grant? Can I get a motion, item 13H, the superintendent's recommendation for potential disciplinary action for administrative employee relief Dr. Kevin Brown?
So moved.
Second. Discussion?
I just want to say one thing. I believe that Dr. Brown completed, he fixed what was wrong in the situation. So I feel like
Any other discussion?
Discussion. A certification is being held over an administrator's head, yet this board is not holding the superintendent accountable for the words that he said to me, which is get the F out of my face, and then he used the word bitch. And there is no absolute any consequence going for the highest level of administrative accountability, and this should not be happening. I believe this is retaliation, and I believe this should not be going forward under any circumstance.
Thank you, Ms. Medina. Any other discussion?
Yes, he did. Dr. Henderson said that to me.
Please, let's stay on the point.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Ms. Grant, please call the roll.
Mrs. Kelly?
Aye.
Mrs. Medina?
Nay.
Mrs. Patterson?
Aye.
Ms. Grant, nay. Mr. Belcheras?
Aye.
Mr. Wagner?
Nay.
Mr. Alexander?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Can I get a motion to approve item 13I?
So moved.
Second, discussion?
There are several irregularities in the bill list.
Yeah, as usual. For discussion purposes on this one, you know, it's amazing, and you guys really need to be careful what you wish for. You've got board members up here that have voted not to pay you for several months. Y'all know that. So if we don't pay the bill list, you guys don't get paid. Nobody in the district does, on the bill gets paid. You have board members that say they're for teachers but vote against paying you. They don't pull anything out of the board member and leave the teachers in there.
The bill list has nothing to do with salary.
It does.
You love to just change things right away and make it look like it's something else.
Mr.
This is what you do with this message the whole community.
Excuse me, Ms. Medina, I can ask the professional. In the bill list, do we pay salaries when we vote monthly?
There's a salary component, yes.
Thank you. So, like I said, yes, I'm sorry, question.
I just want us to be careful with the term irregularities. That means there's some impropriety somewhere.
Yeah,
Irregularities has not happened under my tenure of sitting on the board. I want to be extremely cautious with using words like irregularities.
Thank you. With no proof. Any other discussion? Ms. Graham, please call the roll.
Mrs. Kelly?
Aye.
Mrs. Medina?
Nay.
Mrs. Patterson?
Aye.
Ms. Grant, nay. Mr. Belcheras?
Aye.
Mr. Wagner?
Aye.
Mr. Alexander?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Ms. Graham, read the FOIA report.
FOIA report for March 2022 and March 2022. Proviso Township High Schools District 209 received the following FOIA requests. March 1st, 2022, Catherine Mulchler requested a complete list of the suppliers and companies where any purchases through them are categorized as a blanket order or blanket expense. Information was provided.
It wasn't provided.
March 11th, 2022, Megan Moore requested names of superintendents and deputy superintendents along with their credentials, certifications, and disciplinary actions from 2018 to the present at Proviso Township High School District. Information was provided. March 16th, 2022, Jonathan P. Fagg requested data on all book challenges that have occurred between January 1st, 2018 and now. Information was provided, and that concludes the FOIA report.
Thank you. We're at new business?
Old business.
Old business? Any old business?
Old business.
Go ahead, Ms. Medina.
I think the situation in our schools is severe. The parents and the teachers have come up because we don't have the support. The structure that we currently have is something that you run in a middle school, and it doesn't work in high school. And we've given it several months and we've seen that it does not work. We need to have a revision, and we need to have more security. We need to have deans. We need to give the teachers the support that they're requesting. Our students don't feel safe. The amount of fights that are in our schools should not be happening. The current structure is not working. IT is not working. And the kids are being failed dramatically because we continue to hold on to the dream that the structure that we have is going to work. Well, it turns out that people are dropping like flies. Teachers are leaving because they can't work like this. Administrators are leaving because they can't work like this. And it's because there's a failed system and a failed structure. And as long as we have at the helm of this a failed structure, it doesn't matter how hard you push and how many new people we bring in, our schools are failing. We are failing the kids right now, and we need to act expediently because they don't deserve this.
Any other old business?
Old business. With 2 years into the pandemic, students still struggle with mental health. Experts have warned of a mental health crisis facing America. That is now playing out at schools in the forms of increased childhood depression, anxiety, panic attacks, eating disorders, fights, and thoughts of suicide at alarming levels. Teachers say students have greater difficulty focusing, concentrating, sitting still, and many need to relearn how to socialize and resolve conflicts face-to-face after prolonged immersion in screens. Teachers and school staff are on the front lines of a crisis and need better training in mental health issues. They need to be trained to spot students who are suffering. I would like to see us train at least 75% of the employees in behavior health and also in spotting addictions.
Thank you, Ms. Kelly. Any other old business?
Yeah, old business. Oh, go ahead. Oh. One of the things that I think is not being talked about, and it's related to the teacher's contract, and I think that I'm pausing because I guess what I'm saying is kind of complex. It's simple, yet it's sort of complex. But the 2011 teacher's contract is when I believe the FOP said, provides them to balance their budget. And one of their solutions was to take the 8 period days that Proviso East and Proviso West and truncate it to a 7 period day, right? So it balanced the budget and saved about, maybe $3 million a year in teacher salaries. I don't know how many teachers were let go. There was probably like 30 plus teachers, I believe, were let go back in 2011. And this teacher's contract restores 8 periods to Proviso East and Proviso West, which I think is an amazing accomplishment. It's something that this board ran on. It was one of the highest priorities. We were faced with a situation, especially having the financial oversight panel in place. They insisted, well, you guys got to fix the facilities first, right? We get a lot of flack about all we care about is our $77 million, but that was mandated by the financial oversight panel, right? And so we committed to improving the facilities, and now we have, found resources to reinstitute the 8 period day, which I think is a magnificent triumph. What makes this complex is if we're going to make the 8 period day work, well, we need teachers, right? And I think we have to really make a commitment to healing our district and to moving forward together truly and honestly with each other and being able to have mature adult-to-adult conversations about what is going on in schools, how can we make the school safe for adults and children, and because I think that we have a great opportunity before us, and I don't want to, we don't want to mess that up.
Thanks, Dave. Any other old business?
Yeah, old business.
What's that?
Sometimes it's hard for me to just sit here and everybody knows I'm always quiet. And the reason I do that is because I've been through something in my life. as a kid, as a young adult, as with the family. And one of the things that I realized and I learned in this board is that truth always prevails. It always does. You always got to stay honest, no matter what the consequences are, no matter what happens. How much you get bashed here or at home, anywhere, your job, anywhere. Forgiveness restores. I sometimes when I'm here sitting and hearing both sides, I'm just going to sit over there, both sides everywhere. It just makes me so sad. It just makes me, it's depressing. To be honest, it's very depressing. And it's all of us. I'm just not going to pick a side. It's all of us. And I think it's time to, like Dr. Henderson said, I don't know, maybe you guys got something against him or whatever against me, but I think we should put everything aside. And I give you my personal, I wouldn't say promise, but my word. I'm an old timer. My word is worth a lot. I don't care what happens. If I tell you something, I will do it. Because a healthy mind, a renewed mind, can lift the heaviest of burdens. But in order for you to have a renewed mind, a healthy mind, you have to forgive. And you have to be honest with yourself. And I'm willing to work with the teachers, the superintendent, the board, to make our schools safer. If that's what you want. That's what we want. If that's what you want, that's what we want. To make things better for the teachers, but we just can't come up here and you just point the finger. No, show us where we should go. Show us the direction. Don't point at us. Show us where we should go. And if we do that, we'll be able to make the difference. I always told myself, I'm not going to be a lifelong politician or elected official. Politician just sounds wrong for some reason. I don't know, I never liked the word, but an elected official sounds a little bit better for me. And I always told myself that I'm going to make the difference. But when you sit here, you really realize what's really going on, when you know what's going on in executive session, something that we cannot share with you, that's when you realize and you're like, wow. You don't know how many times, well, you probably do know how many times it was 3-3 and Sam had to make the decision. Many times that happened to me. And it's a big burden to me. But my thing was always make the right choice. Makes what benefits the whole, not the few. And sometimes it's hard because I run into the few that says, why did you vote like that, Sam? I know, because it affects most of us. And I say most of us because sometimes it affected me. With my kids being at East, I had 2 kids graduate from East and 1 from here. So I encourage you teachers, administrators, board members, to change our ways. Let's forgive. Let's stop hating. I don't know how you guys do it, wasting all that energy on that. It just takes so much out of you. It's like when your marriage is bad, it's wrong, and your husband or your wife, you always add it. I mean, you could just feel that burden behind you, you carry every single day. But when you make up and you talk to each other, doesn't it feel great? Doesn't it feel like something got lifted off your back? That's what I want for us as a district. That's what I want. Let's stop this. It's time to stop. It just takes so much out of you, and you just become not even angry. You become, what's that word, irate. And once you go to irate, it's very dangerous. Sometimes there's no way to come back. So I encourage all of you. If you want my number, stop me. I'll give you my number, and you tell me how we're going to work. You tell me how we're going to do this. But it's time to make the change. It's time for us to come together. And I'm not just saying this like this sounds nice on the camera or the community. See, no, I'm like this. Ask anybody here. I'm like this all the time. Not because I'm on the video. I don't make narratives. My life's my narrative. I don't have to be on social media trying to make something seem what it's not. Because that's not right. Even if it looks good, it's not right. If I do something that's good, but it looks bad, that's not right. If I do something that's bad, that looks good, that's not right either. So remember, truth prevails. Forgiveness restores. And a healthy mind, or renewed mind, could push the heaviest of burdens. So I invite all of you to work with me, to work with us, the superintendent, with yourselves, with one another. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Any other old business? New business? Go ahead, Don.
Let me just take this opportunity to thank the young people that I had an opportunity to meet with at Proviso East that are watching tonight. At Proviso West that are watching tonight. At PMSA that are watching tonight. Over 30 plus years of advocacy for parents and students. The conversations that I had along with Mrs. Kelly, even though there were those individuals trying to make it seem to be something that it wasn't. Got a lot of information from those students. The student Proviso mentioned it earlier. Math and Science Academy said, I cried one night watching the board meeting with my mom. I cried. Tears welled up in my eyes. And he said he cried because he thought, wow, they're acting like kids. Now mind you, this is coming from a 17, 18-year-old student. Got the same thing from the other two young men that were brothers. They were from Westchester. And they thought the same thing. And the same thing they thought at Proviso East and Proviso West. I said to those individuals, I will soul search. Because you see, when I ran for the board, I ran for the purpose of helping children. Mental illness is real. Not only are students having social emotional issues, our faculty and staff are having social emotional issues. I refuse to continue to be negative. If you don't have any positive vibes or energy for me, save it. I am going to work with these young people as I promised them. I had one said, hey, did you get to talk to the board? I said, no, not yet. They were aware that I and Mrs. Kelly had been accused of many things. They showed us the video. Social media. I'm really not a social media person. To the parent that spoke, I actually had an opportunity to see the video, or part of the video. I don't even know if it was the full video. I'm only given what I had an opportunity to see that had been sent to me. Of the incident that happened yesterday at Proviso East High School. People understand fights are happening all over the world. The top high schools. Walter Payton having fights over there. Whitney Young's having fights everywhere because our kids, we're dealing with a different population, generation of kids. They don't know what respect is. Not all students. So when you go to the social media, not all students, many students are having a problem with respect for adults. And from what I've seen on that video, I became very angry because when we've come to the point where students are knocking adults to the floor, that's a problem. And the adult can't retreat and hit back because if the adult had done what the student did, that's a problem. The adult may have some mental issues going on too, some social, emotional. But what I see in those two young men, those two brothers, something must be done. I'm not talking about a second chance program. Senate Bill 100 does not say they cannot be expelled. I am the last person to want to expel a student. But the hit that elderly gentleman took could have took him out of here. I will not sit on a board where the kids, the students, the scholars have started to whip the adults. Because that's a losing battle. I'm a mother of 3 adult children. All 3 of my children went through Proviso Township High School. But I cannot. The video that I seen, and I'm sure there are other clips, I can only tell you what I seen. There were 2 adults. 2. They weren't trying to fight the kids. They were trying to help them to calm down. You haul off and you strike them. I'm watching it like, oh, don't go down the stairs. To hit that man and he slid across the floor. I don't care whose kids those are. That can't happen. This is a learning institution. We must do better. If it's the same students repeating the same antisocial behavior, they cannot and should not be in anybody's building. You have to put them in an area. If they don't have an IEP, then they might have to go home to their parents and do homeschooling. We cannot have these kids whooping the teachers, the security. When you guys are speaking about we need more deans, we need more security, I respect every position here. I've put 20 years in this district, so I know the ins and the outs. Security, no disrespect, but you must come to work. You don't need extra security if people come to work. If you don't come to work, of course you need to replace your thing. We need more security. No, you need to come to work. You say we need a dean in each building. Basically, that's just an extra body. In my opinion, I'm entitled to it. These people that chose to take on the responsibility, no disrespect to them, to become assistant principal or grade level principals, they knew what that role entitled. They chose to take the job. I get it. You doing 6 jobs in one. And maybe that's something, Dr. Henderson, that we can take a look at. But young people, I promised you, I work for you. I work for students in this community. That's it. That's all. Case closed.
Thank you. Any new business?
New business. I think it's imperative that we start an attendance policy that will give us consistency district-wide. We need to relook at that. I think we also need to look at reinstating deans as soon as possible for support for our teachers, for our student body. We also need to look at the amount of counselors that we have to ensure that we can actually give the support that our students need, and we need to do so immediately.
Any other new business?
New business. Some parents have been asking about service hour reduction. We've done it the past couple of years, reduced the service hour requirements for graduation. Has there been any discussion about that?
Actually, yes. Dr. Williams or Dr. Caballos, will you speak to that, please?
Good evening again. We have located that requirement in our course catalog. We're working closely with each of our principals and the teams regarding graduation certification procedures, which includes looking at the service hours. We are not going to penalize any scholars for not meeting the threshold that we have set forth in that graduation in the course catalog to keep them back from graduating. We'll continue to look at that. There's some discrepancies between schools and we want to make sure that we're all aligned there.
Okay, thank you so much. The other point I wanted to make with new business is just that communications and safety have been concerns for a long time. People have been talking about safety since kids came back in person. How many months are we going to listen to people ask for more help in terms of safety in our schools before something happens? Like, this has been consistent month after month after month. I know we have a group of students at Proviso West who now eat lunch consistently in their teachers' classrooms rather than go to the cafeteria because it's just not safe. This is really unacceptable, and I'm sick of hearing it time and time again. And communication has been a problem for much longer than that. There's no reason with email and text and robocalls that we can't be reaching out to parents and community members on a regular basis for both good and bad things, and we should.
Thank you for that. New business?
Go ahead.
So, I think, I don't know if I talked to you, Dr. Henderson, about this, so we talked about it. You know, we kind of talked about, you know, how kind of building bridges with the teachers, the students, the parents, and I think maybe we should start I want to say a committee of groups, you know, just to talk about these issues and see if we could develop processes to address what Amanda said, you know, with the safety and things that are going on, so we could just, you know, something like that. I know it's an extra, it's a lot of effort because we've never done it, and it'll be a large group, you know, teachers, administrators. Yeah, actually, we already have an employee group that I meet with, and I'm sure we could work with that team.
Yeah, kind of a collaboration group, you know, to talk about these issues a little bit more than just right now or during the board meeting, which, you know, doesn't really give us a lot of time to speak about it.
We'll take care of that, sir. Thank you.
Any other new business? Very good. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Ms. Grant, please call the roll.
Mrs. Kelly? Aye. Mrs. Medina?
To adjourn, Mrs. Patterson.
Aye.
Ms. Grant, aye. Mr. Belfiore.
Aye.
Mr. Wagner.
Aye.
Mr. Alexander.
Nay.
We're adjourned.
You want your last meeting to end?
Mr. Lisa. How are you, sir?